What nobody tells you about weight loss plateaus on a vegan lifestyle, plant-based diet, maybe you're just heading in this direction, the scale has stopped moving after it was for some time, you're stuck now, you're scratching your head, you're wondering what to do next, it feels so discouraging after you've even had some really good results, but you've still got 10, 15 pounds you want to get off, you've hit that wall and you're completely overwhelmed, you're not sure. Do I change something? Do I give up here? If I do change something, what do I do? So on and so forth. Now, I don't think this particular problem, and the thing that nobody talks about that I'm alluding to, my rather clickbait headline here, I don't think this is exclusive to the plant-based nutrition sphere, but I see this misapprehension an awful lot, this misconception an awful lot in this space. Because especially when I go into the Facebook groups, plant-based, Starch Solution Facebook, weight loss groups, I see this comment over and over again. I've stopped losing weight. I've stopped losing weight, but I'm consistent. Right, from folks that are, maybe you resonate, they're not adding wine back in, they're not going out for meals on Fridays and Saturday nights, they're not eating loads of the vegan junk food, they've eliminated all of this stuff. As far as they're concerned, they're being just as compliant, just as consistent with what they were doing when they were losing weight, you know, a couple of weeks ago, and now they've hit that wall. All the more reason to scratch your head, right? Because you can't point the finger at some really obvious binge eating, emotional eating habits, some craving, some high-calorie vegan junk food. You can't point the finger at something obvious as to why the scale has stopped moving. This is why it's even more frustrating, because you feel like you're doing everything right. And this is the comment I'm seeing again and again in the Facebook groups. Like, what's going wrong? I'm doing everything that I was doing when I was losing weight. It is just... This is the big misconception with plateaus. It is just that your TDE, your maintenance calories, have dropped. You're a lighter entity now. You're a lighter entity, and what was a calorie deficit for you previously isn't anymore. And this is assuming nothing in your diet has changed. If your portions, if your quantities you've maybe eased up on, if you're not using measuring cups, you've got a little bit complacent with that, if you are indeed adding more of the junk foods to your diet, that's a different problem entirely. That's not a true weight loss plateau. That's just you slipping. And that's a really noteworthy problem as well, but it's not the one I'm addressing in this video. You're slipping more than you currently realize, and that's an issue. But we're assuming that literally to a T, you're doing everything that was helping you lose weight when you were 10 pounds heavier. The obvious explanation here is you're simply not getting away with eating that calorie amount anymore. It's no longer a deficit, or it's certainly no longer a significant enough deficit for you to discern a notable amount of weight loss that feels encouraging and validation as proof of concept that your plan does actually work on the scale each and every week, and that's it. And all you need to do, it doesn't need some big revision, you don't need to cut out carbs forever, you certainly don't need to give up all of a sudden. You probably don't even need to suddenly now totally reinvent your whole exercise routine and do some really hardcore, high-intensity stuff, or, oh, well, now I heard good things about that Zone 2 cardio, I better be doing 50 minutes of that every single evening now. People go for this drastic stuff sometimes. No, no, no. The answer is subtle. It's right in front of your nose. You just need to siphon a few calories off your daily diet. The amount of clients that I've got now through these really, like, seemingly out of nowhere, quite stubborn weight loss plateaus, just with this very small switch. I have a lot of new clients come to me after having lost a lot of weight, but they've still got 20, 30 pounds they want to lose. They've hit the wall, and they're coming to me because they just need that hands-on support. Like, Ryan, what do I tweak here? What do I troubleshoot? I feel so discouraged. What do I do next? And honestly, sometimes it's something really subtle. There's clients that come into my plan and they're literally following, they've seen my videos before, they're following Slim and Sustain philosophy, or maybe they've done Starch Solution background. They're really close anyway to eating precisely how I want them to eat. It is literally just dialing in this portion of this, changing this, a little subtle thing here and there. Maybe we take 1 or 2 snacks away, healthy stuff, like healthy food. We just adjust and we just pivot with healthy food. Maybe if we switch them from peanut butter to PB2 is a good example of this, PB Fit. I talked recently in a video about switching the type of plant milk you're using. If you use a lot of plant milk, that alone can be enough to get you through a plateau. I've seen this in real time. So often with clients, I'm literally doing a 5 to 8% calorie tweak to get them through a plateau. Now, if you're gaining weight, that's a different problem. 5 to 8% of a calorie reduction, that's going to do nothing if you're gaining weight right now. But assuming that you're coming off the back of a period of weight loss, you've now been in a plateau for weeks and or months, something like a 5 to 8% calorie reduction can sometimes be as little as you need to break through. And if it isn't ultimately as little as you need, and you might need to take another 50 or 100 or 150 calories, that's fine. At least you started with the small, subtle thing that minimized the chance of you white-knuckling, having loads of hunger, having a big rebound, having loads of cravings. You just want to make that small change when you hit the plateau, because you don't want to mess with some of the negative side effects of pushing your calories too low. That's why it's so important. Again, another example of another very practical example of slow and steady really does win the race. Sometimes I do need to make maybe a more extreme adjustment with the client, but we at least start with the small one. And this is why patience is so important. And it's hard because you I've been in this plateau for ages, Ryan, I'll give you my money, sign me up to your program, but get me out of the plateau now. And I'm always like, chill, calm, breathe. Let's take our time with this. Breathe, will you? It's condescending, but breathe. Don't forget, it's really important. You might die without it. But no, chill. And I just need a bit of patience from you. Look, I might need a week or two here to get you through this. But what that week or two does, it just ensures that we don't do things too radically and, skyrocket your chances of big rebound, big blowout. So slow and steady really does win the race. We make that small calorie reduction. That's all you need. But bottom line, I've gone on tangent after tangent, but hopefully with all the real world examples, this is useful to you. But the bottom line is, many people, they're not in the calorie deficit anymore that they used to be. And that's it. So if you think you're doing everything right, if you think you're being really consistent, you can't see any big major calorie leaks, you're pretty good and pretty consistent with your daily steps. Maybe you do a couple of strength workouts a week like I often talk about as well. Maybe you even do a little bit of sport, something more intense on top of it. Your exercise routine is good as well. It's compliant, it's consistent. Your food is good, compliant, consistent. That's the point I'm trying to make. Everything is stable. If you're not losing weight right now, you're probably just one. And this is, it's hypothetical, but to give you something to illustrate how close you are, you're probably only 1 to maybe 200 daily calories away from losing weight again. Actually, in many, many cases, it's not even that. When I have a client for me and they have a good 2 months run of weight loss after starting with me, and they hit that first plateau, and it's not to say it's always 8 weeks, sometimes it's week 2, bless them, and sometimes it's week 4, sometimes it's not for the first 4 months they work with me until they hit that plateau. But when it comes, honestly, that's when we're looking at maybe a 5 to 8% shift in calories. So for example, just to illustrate again how subtle this can be, if I've got a client on 2,000 calories and they're losing weight right now, they hit the plateau, I might only have to bring them to 1,900. So that's only 5%. So it's only a 100 calorie reduction. Now, a 100 calorie reduction for a client that's already only eating 1,400 calories to 1,300, that's a bit bigger. But that's why the percentage is important rather than having an arbitrary calorie amount in your mind. So please note, this is not me telling you, definitely you should take 100 calories off your diet. That may be really inappropriate advice to give to you personally. This is just a general video, but this is why you go percentage-led, just to illustrate it's a small subtle shift rather than getting like, oh, I have to minus 100 calories because Ryan said that. No, it's not that arbitrary. Go by the percentage. 5 to 8% can really, really help. That's all I'm doing often with my clients. That's after they've had a good run of weight loss, I want to be clear, after they've worked with me. Someone coming into the program, it might need to be a little bit larger, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes I just change 1 or 2 things, bang, the scale starts moving. And then just another word on what I said earlier, if I may, before we wrap up here. Stay with me, because this is crucial. Like, a lot of people, they aren't actually as consistent, as compliant as they think, or they used to be, and they've stopped using the measuring cups, they've stopped weighing things. That thing that they thought was 100 calories worth of peanut butter because they tracked it 5 weeks ago, actually they're now doing maybe 20, 30% more on the heaped tablespoon. And so just watch for those subtle things, and they maybe forget about the Starbucks latte that they have every day. Just these fairly innocent seeming little slips, even with healthy food. They can really just, or doing more fruit. Like one that I hear a lot in the from plant-based dieters is fruit just seems so innocent, it seems so nourishing, it is so nutrient dense. The free pass people give it means they don't account for it in the same way they might do other foods. So that's a really good example actually, and because you might just eat a bit of fruit as something between meals, it's not as though people are lying when they say, I'm doing everything right, I'm eating how I used to when I'm in the plateau. They don't know they're lying. It's not a conscious lie, let's say, but it's just they're not necessarily fully registering the amount of food that they actually eat every day, because so much of it seems so innocent, and it might be quite mindless, and it might just be just between meals, or while this is another common one, preparing meals for their kids and just snacking on a couple of things. I hear that all the time. There's a big problem for a lot of my clients, actually. So again, I digress, going in a million different directions. So just a word on that, are you actually being as compliant as you think? But let's assume you are, and you are being consistent. Weight loss stops. Just the amount of calories you can eat at maintenance, and subsequently the amount of calories you must eat to lose body fat each and every week, it's a bit less than it used to be, which, if you're a smaller entity, that's totally normal. You're not going to burn as many calories. Lots of caveats here, like maybe your exercise increases or decreases. Maybe something else that might be affecting metabolic rate has changed versus this period of time several weeks ago when you were losing weight. Maybe NEAT has dropped, which it does, your unconscious activity, subconscious activity that drops. Not just conscious exercise activity, your daily steps, but your unconscious activity that after prolonged periods in a calorie deficit, that can drop as well, and you don't burn as many calories. So there are other background factors here. I don't want to give a definitive one-size-fits-all thing, but honestly, from what I'm seeing in the Facebook groups right now, in the YouTube comments as well, I think a lot of you, what was a calorie deficit isn't anymore, and you're just so close to one subtle change. If all of this makes sense, but it's still a touch overwhelming, and you just like me to get you through this next plateau and any upcoming plateaus as well, you can learn more about working with me on my coaching program down below. But yeah, hope this helps you out.